17th or 18th?
17th.
Today's Monday.
Today's Monday.
Family Day.
Family Day.
February
2025.
17th, 2025. And we had the honor of hosting Professor Persis Karim, who was our distinguished lecturer, Mir-Djalali, distinguished lecturer at the University of Toronto. Professor Karim.
Yes, Professor.
You have had an amazing sort of initiative establishing the Iranian Diaspora Studies Center. Could you tell us about it, what got you to do this really important, innovative work, and where is it going?
Okay, well, I share a story with many Iranian Americans, and I would argue probably Iranian Canadians, that Iran was on my radar my whole life, but was also inaccessible. So when I was in graduate school studying Middle East studies and eventually my PhD in comparative literature, I had wanted to go to Iran to improve my Persian because I didn't grow up speaking Persian. And through a series of unfortunate events, I wasn't able to go to Iran. But I began to see in my cohorts in graduate school the idea that there were many people like me that carried the trace of Iran with them, both in their work and in their personal lives. And I said, there must be a story here. So when I was in almost my last year of graduate school, I got together with an Iranian guy who was studying exile literature. And we decided to...
That's the way to go.
We decided to see if we could get some writing together. Rather than studying literature about exile or studying literature about other parts of the world, we decided to focus on people who are living outside of Iran, who had come to the US in the context of the revolution. That became the impetus for literature of the Iranian American experience, Iranian diaspora experience, and I felt like it should be somehow studied, understood, and analyzed more effectively than just by saying, this is an accident and it's a one-time thing. And so I was introduced to the idea of diaspora studies in graduate school, and then I thought, well, Iran is a major diasporic population. And when I got my first job out of graduate school, I began thinking about how do I integrate this world that I studied, wrote about in my dissertation, into my teaching. And it became more obvious that I was not alone in my thinking about that. So there were many people who came after me who were in graduate school thinking about Iran, but not able to actually wrap their heads around how they were going to do field work there. So that became the impetus for a kind of collective effort. I mean, I was involved in the first efforts, but lots of people came along and helped to build it.
Scholarship. And then when was the Center for Diaspora Studies at San Francisco State University was established, and when did you become the director of it?
It was established with a gift from a San Francisco State alumna named Nada Nobari in 2017.
2017.
In 2018, there was a job search, and I got the job partly because I was, I think, thinking about this idea, and it was a bold experiment for something like this to be funded because nothing like it had existed. And I'm in my last few months of doing it because unfortunately the resources will be redirected to scholarships instead of a center.
And this is happening at a time that Iranian diaspora studies is really taken off.
Yes, so it's unfortunately out of my control and somewhat disappointing, but one of the great things is that collaborations have already begun long before this news. And so, for example, our efforts with the University of Toronto, Elahe Umidyar Mir-Djalali Institute of Iranian Studies is another example of transforming some of the work that's already happened, bringing it to a place like Toronto and Canada. I don't want to use the word legitimize, but maybe giving it visibility.
Visibility and creating a global network of scholars that can connect. So it's particularly with the virtual seminar series that we are planning to do, we can bring people who are doing Iranian diaspora studies all over the world.
Yes,
and this would be very much like other seminar series that we have people from China, Korea, from India, from Kenya, from Belgium, London.
I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think it's timely because we're now at the almost nearing 50 years of mass migration of Iranians around the globe. And there's still people, you know, choosing to live outside of Iran. And recently, just to give you an example, I met a young woman who's from Japan. She's a Middle East scholar who lived in Iran, and she's wants me to come to Japan to talk about Iranian diaspora studies because apparently there's a Japanese,
large Japanese
Iranian population.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was big as it is, but it's also the idea that like people now understand we should be looking at these unique communities. What differences, to think about them as comparative, to look at their differences, to find their commonalities, and to think a little bit about the ways in which Iran and the global diaspora operate in sync and in different ways as well. So I think it's a great, I think with the wonderful thing about having a home in an institution is that it gives people a sense that there's a place that they belong to. But I think that there's enough work that's been done that it's beyond a singular institutional identity. And I think with collaborators like you and some of the other colleagues that we've talked about, we can build the infrastructure to keep this momentum and do things like conferences, seminar series. I'm very excited about the work of our colleagues who are working on Toronto.
Right.
Because I
Professor
think
Naqibi and Amin
Moqaddam. Yes.
Yep.
And I think, you know, I can lend some perspective to things that worked well in my time directing the center, but I can also be open to offering guidance about how you do some of the things of organizing conferences.
Well, you have been a great source of inspiration, and I'm really grateful for you accepting to come to Toronto as our distinguished lecturer, and then also initiating this Iranian seminar series that you inaugurated today.
Thank you.
Thank you for your exceptional work.
Thank you.
Thanks.